So many people want to know what makes marriage last.
First things,
That's so evident, isn't it?
common sense isn't so common these days.
It's not.
I mean, because the reality is nobody can make you feel anyway. As much as you work on your marriage, work on yourself as well.
Say that again.
Because even though you're communicating before marriage, oftentimes you get in marriage and you miss how to communicate. And when you communicate, you can communicate with the wrong tone.
But you can't blame and find healing at the same time.
All of that matters. Respect.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
The bonus tip for must-haves to deeper intimacy. Drum roll, please. So many people want to know what makes marriage last, because right now we're at a 50% divorce rate. Like, what is the secret sauce? We're about to give you the secret sauce. What's the first thing?
First thing's communication.
That's so evident, isn't it?
You think.
You would think.
Common sense isn't so common these days.
It's not. And even as you're watching this, you might even think like right now, oh, I'm going to tune out. But you need to stay through, because I'm going to tell you what, we're going to give you tips on communication that's going to better your communication. And this is just one of them. There's 9 more things with a bonus at the end.
Ooh, dang.
Bonus is my favorite.
I do think that people confuse the word communication with talking.
Yes.
And that's not the same thing.
Speak to that.
Well, I think that communicating involves a lot of things. Like my kids, they just talk. They're just babbling and things come out of their mouth. But communication is purposeful. It's intentional. It's talking about the important things, making sure, you're coming across the right way, not just saying words. It involves maturity. Communication involves maturity. Talking doesn't.
Right.
And so there's a lot more to it.
And that's something that isn't taught.
Right.
In school, you just, like what you said, you just kind of learn to talk. And even like we offer a premarital course that we do. Mm-hmm. And in that, you learn how to communicate.
Yeah.
Because even though you're communicating before marriage, oftentimes you get in marriage and you miss how to communicate. And when you communicate, you can communicate with the wrong tone.
Right.
You communicate out of anger,
All
out of frustration. All of that matters.
That's communication. Using the right tone, using the right body language, eye rolls, not pointing fingers, blaming, all that kind of stuff.
The you always.
Yeah.
You never.
So that when we say the word communication, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Communicating properly.
Yeah. There's even like a book I read. So like as a pastor, I read a lot of communication books because I want to be a better communicator. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that just blows my mind is that we understand for a profession, I'm going to study communication. But one day I'm going to retire from this profession. Mm-hmm. But I will never retire from this marriage.
Right.
So why should I not learn how to communicate in this marriage? Mm-hmm. And instead what happens, and sadly this happened to a friend of ours, is we had some friends that ended up getting divorced, and one of the biggest hiccups in their marriage was communication.
Yeah.
Even to the point when he would get upset with her, he would block her number.
That's the maturity thing that I was talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
And lack thereof.
Lack thereof.
And so we have to know that when it comes to communicating, even when we might not want to hear from that person, we need to be open. And here's the thing, like we've said this before, you have to know your spouse, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're not ready to receive, I have to wait and give that time. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that I block you because I'm mad because you don't want to talk right now. Because then what happened is that when he was ready to talk, he would try to hit her up and she blocked him now. And what's crazy is they live in the same house.
So stupid.
Now, and this is what's crazy again, like we can be so good at business, at entrepreneurship, at starting businesses, taking care of the house. So many things we're good at, but we lack communication. Mm-hmm. And so this is what the Bible says about communication. James 1:19, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That's just like what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. That's good.
It is. I mean,
I feel like it speaks for itself. My dear brothers and sisters, take note. Quick to listen. We're quick to that.
Yep.
Just say what I feel right out of the whenever. Like timing is crucial.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, my kids just say things at inappropriate times.
Read the room.
You know what I'm saying? Read the person,
Yeah.
right? Like, but quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That's really important too.
Yeah. Well, it's like, we've mentioned this before. It's like you have one tongue and you have 2 ears.
Yeah.
So you should listen 2 times as much as you speak.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to know that in communication. And so maybe you, as you're listening right now or you're watching right now on YouTube, you know where you fail at this. Maybe you over communicate and your spouse is like, oh my gosh, they won't shut up. You know, like, not trying to be mean, but maybe that is it. Because we've all had conversations with those vampires that just suck the life out of you and just talk. Mm-hmm. But maybe you under communicate. Maybe your spouse is desiring that you would talk more to them, open up more, let there be intimacy. You might think, and here's the thing, people are so different. You think that everything's fine and you feel that everything's fine, but because your spouse wants you to open up more, they're worried that something's going on. Yeah. They're worried that there's an issue in the marriage. Mm-hmm. And so this is what else it says in Proverbs 18:13. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. To answer before listening. Mm-hmm.
Assuming.
Guilty. Guilty.
Assuming that you know what they're going to do, what they're going to say, especially if you've been married for a really long time, or, you know, you see certain trends happening within your marriage, or you know that your spouse reacts or does certain things, and you just assume that you know what they're going to do, what they're going to say. But the reality is whether that's true or not, the reality is that you need to listen. Yeah. Whether you know what they're going to say, what they're going to do.
I say it all the time. You tell me so many stories over and over again. I'm like, I've heard this story, but keep going. It's great.
Stop it.
So below we have a free PDF for you to help you with your communications. In the link below, go ahead and click that. It's free for you. Use it today. Better your marriage today. It is going to work. So here are 3 things to avoid when it comes to communication. You just said it, avoid assumptions. We do not want to assume things. Don't assume you know what your spouse is feeling or thinking. Ask them open-ended questions. Mm-hmm. Number 2, don't use I statements, okay? Because you're going to sound accusatory, right? Or sorry, let me rephrase that. Use I statements so you don't sound accusatory. Yeah. This goes back to what we just said. We don't want to say you always or you never. Yeah. It's I feel blank, right? Yeah. I feel this when you blank. It's again saying like, this is just the way I don't think you mean to do it. This is just how I feel. Yeah. Versus you make me feel this way when you, I don't even know what to say.
I mean, because the reality is nobody can make you feel anyway. Mm. There's probably, we've talked about this before, there's probably a button there that your spouse pushed that made you feel that way. Mm-hmm. But if that button wasn't there, guess what? They couldn't push it. Yep. So sometimes there's things that we need to figure out and fix in our own selves, in our own lives. Yep. So that they can't even push the button. Yep. Because it's not even there.
So even that is so good, because the root to bad communication can come down to a root of a trauma or something that has happened in our life.
Absolutely. How am I supposed to know every single button inside of you? Then now I'm walking on eggshells. And I'm not saying that, because there are some people that do things on purpose. So I'm not saying that. I'm talking about, are you too sensitive? Are you overly emotional all the time? Now I have to walk on eggshells and be like, oh, okay, I got to see. Oh my gosh. Are they feeling this okay? Oh, and that's not a marriage. Right. That's not communication.
Because even before we got married, before we got saved, before we were followers of Christ, you were overly sensitive.
Yeah, I was.
And would cry often. And obviously I did plenty of stuff to ruin that relationship and make you cry often, but you were, and you've matured so much out of that. But again, comes to that realization of yourself of like, okay, what am I tying myself to, right? Like, what is this thing that is making me respond a certain way, instead of trusting in Jesus and him being my rock, him being my anchor.
Yeah, I just want to, so as much as you're working on your marriage, which is obviously what we're talking about, you need to make sure that you're working on yourself as well. It is not your spouse's responsibility for yourself, for your emotions, for your past traumas. That's not your spouse's responsibility. And so as much as you work on your marriage, work on yourself as well.
And that means getting a counselor, therapist, having a conversation with a pastor, absolutely, reading books, learning how to deal with it, right? Instead of just brushing it under the rug, because we always know what happens when you brush under the rug. Pretty soon, so much crap's going to pile up under that thing. Someone's going to trip over it and point the finger at the other person. You didn't take care of this, right? You didn't fix this.
Yeah.
And we just know, you just keep pushing down, it's going to blow up.
Yep.
Third thing, avoid blame and criticism. Don't criticize. I mean, you say it so well. You're like, why did we lose, or when did we lose manners in our marriage?
Yeah.
And we talk nicer to the waitress than we do to our wife. And we criticize what our wife just made for dinner or what our husband just made for dinner, but we don't criticize when maybe we get some food brought out that's a little cold, at the restaurant that we're actually paying for. It should be coming out hot.
Yeah.
We don't criticize that. Instead, we point the finger at our spouse so much.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to number 2 as well, like how we talked about like dealing with yourself and then also blaming and criticizing. Like if we continue to do that, you're just pushing it off of yourself, because you either want your marriage to win or you don't.
Yep.
And so you can't blame.
Say that again.
You can't blame. You made me lose my train of thought.
You said you want your marriage to win or you don't. That was so good. Like, that's it.
It is. And so, but you can't blame and find healing at the same time.
Say that again.
You can't point fingers, blame, and find healing within yourself or within your marriage at the same time. You either want your marriage to win, you either want your marriage to be healed, or you don't.
So good.
And so, don't always point fingers. You have to make sure that, you're your best self as well.
100%. So here's 3 quick practical tips for number 1 on communication. Schedule regular check-ins to discuss your day and your feelings, right? What's your plan for the day? You can do it in the morning. You can do it in the evening. Whatever works out for you. You can do it over coffee. You can do it over dinner. I recommend not doing this with kids because it's going to be hard to have that check-in right then and there.
They just start talking.
They do.
They're not communicating.
Literally, that happened to us in the office earlier. I'm telling Krissy what we're going to talk about, or was it had to do with Sunday or this? I don't remember. Anyways, we were working, brainstorming, and Krissy just is like at the door. And I just hear these kids yelling. And then all of a sudden one starts crying. She's like, 1 second. Literally has to peek her head out of the door and be like, what are you doing? And so, they're a distraction.
Yeah,
so when you're trying to have that regular check-in, so this can be, it can be as simple as this. When you are in the bathroom and you are brushing your teeth at the dual sink or the one sink and you're spitting on each other's hands.
You're even closer.
Yeah, you're even closer. You guys love each other so much. When that happens, just have the conversation of, hey, what does your day look like? What's the plans for tonight? Who's making dinner? Who's picking up the kids? Do we have a small group tonight? Are we having anybody over? Whatever it looks like. Is tonight date night? Where are we going? It can be a quick checkup.
Yeah.
But those little moments of communication that we miss, like we're with each other in the bathroom for 5 or 10 minutes getting ready. Let's communicate there.
Yeah.
Let's talk there. So then I don't get frustrated that I get home and there's no dinner on the table. And what? We have a small group tonight? And what? Now it's at our house, this week because something happened? Of course that's going to happen when there's no communication.
Yeah.
So super simple, okay? You can do that in bed, laying in bed. Hey, how was your day? What was your favorite part of your day? What was the hardest part of your day? Did anything funny happen? What does tomorrow look like?
Yeah.
Super simple. Keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I'm not calling you guys stupid. Come on, you know that. All right, number 2, a marriage checkup. Me and Krissy do this. They're so important. Super simple. Again, here it is. Tell your spouse what are the 3 things they're doing good at. What's one thing they could work on? Marriage checkup. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Don't do this before bed because you're going to go to bed and she's going to tell you what you need to work on. And then you're like, well, you need to work on that. You can get mad. Make it a time where it's like, hey, we're going for a walk and just, what are 3 things I'm doing good? Awesome. What's that one thing I work on? Okay, I'm going to work on that.
Yeah.
And be ready. Again, this isn't criticism. You're not criticizing your spouse here. You are bringing to your spouse because, again, you're asking as the spouse, what could I truly do to better our marriage? What can I do to serve you more? So don't take it as criticism.
No, and it's not. You have to have a good heart about it because, again, you either want your marriage to win or you don't. And here's the reality. Like, he normally tells me a rotation of 2 or 3 things.
Krissy does not have a lot of things to work on.
That's not what I meant. I just meant I can't get good at those 3 things.
I just
That's
meant
what I was talking about.
you don't have a lot of things to work on. The
No.
marriage checkup sometimes is so hard for me, and Krissy's like, okay, well, hold on, let me pull out. She's got a list, and she's flipping. Work on this one. This
I got a
Rolodex. What a word we don't use anymore as we're in 2024.
No.
A Rolodex.
Our people don't even probably know what it is.
No, I've never owned a Rolodex nor seen one, but I've heard of them on TV shows and movies. So I was just thinking like a note, notebook. Anyways, Okay. Third thing, practice active listening. This is easy. Okay. Summarize what your spouse says before you respond.
Yeah.
You know, so if they are bringing up something to you and talking about a bill, talking about an appointment, talking about whatever, re-summarize what they just said to them.
What I heard you say is
100%.
Yeah.
So then we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's
Because listen, guys, we're guilty of this. It's like, I'm listening, but I'm not listening.
Yeah.
My head's nodding, but what the heck did she just tell me to do? Not realizing that, oh, I'm supposed to pick the kids up for school today.
I mean, it's mutual too. It's not that I'm not actively listening. It's that there's 4 other voices also in my ear. So sometimes it's like, you got to make sure that I did hear you correctly. Or I like caught a conversation with my kids, literally like your example. So it's like, it does go both ways.
Yeah. Hey, if this is helping you out, hit that subscribe button right now if you are going to work on your communication with your spouse. Let's go into the second way to have deeper intimacy. Ready for this? Forgiveness.
Oof.
Forgiveness.
That's a good one.
You got to fight for forgiveness.
Yeah.
The other day at church, I was talking with somebody, and they were talking about an ex. And they're remarried now, but they were just sharing that they struggle to forgive their ex. And that's hard, especially like us as Christians.
Yeah.
We are called to forgive. Even, yesterday we were watching The Chosen, and it's season 4. And if you haven't watched The Chosen, you should watch that. It brings the Bible to life.
Yep.
When the Romans have the disciples carry their gear a mile, and then Jesus, after they get to the mile, he's like, no, we're going to keep going for that extra mile. See, Jesus didn't just like preach one thing, he modeled it. And one of the things he says along with that is, again, that if somebody slaps your right cheek, let them slap your left. Like, he talks about us forgiving our enemies. That's how we look different. So when I can forgive my spouse and vice versa, we look different than the relationships around us.
Yeah.
Because like what you said, we're fighting for the marriage, not fighting against one another.
I'd even take it a step further. I'd say forgive fast.
Yes.
That's what I would say. I'd say forgive fast. If you look at what you're arguing about, most of the time it is petty stuff that has just built up. It's not these big, huge things. It's just small things that add up. And if we don't forgive quickly, how many days have we ruined? How many social events are we bitter and mad at? Birthday parties where we're just like mad at each other and like not enjoying the moment.
Yep.
Did you know that 58 out of 60 minutes of the day, or out of the hour, 58 out of 60 minutes out of every hour, we're thinking about the past or the future? And if that is thinking about what your husband has done to you, or you just have bitterness and unforgiveness in your heart, how much time are you wasting thinking about those things? So not only forgiveness, but forgive fast.
You need to drop an F-bomb on them. That's what it is.
You were not listening to me, and you were waiting to say that.
I was waiting to say that, but I was listening. Forgive fast.
Forgive fast.
You need to drop that.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Forgiving fast is worth it.
Yes. So here's some things, because some of you, I know, they're thinking, well, you don't know what my spouse has done to me.
You're right. I don't.
100%. And we also don't recognize what we did to Jesus. The sin, right, that he took upon himself that we have been carrying our entire life.
Yeah.
But I want to hit on some things, and I have a list of
Sure.
some things for us to look at. Maybe you've been hurt by your spouse from betrayal of trust, because that's a big one.
Yep.
Like however they might have betrayed your trust, because trust is the foundation of marriage. And when a spouse betrays that, whether through infidelity, lying, or other forms of deceitfulness, it can be incredibly difficult to rebuild. But that's why, and we talk about this so often, you need a third party, because it'd be better to get a counselor, a pastor, a therapist, somebody to talk to work this out, to learn how to have that trust built back up, instead of just throwing in the keys and saying, I'm done.
Yeah. No, it's so good. And I think and we're talking about forgiveness here. And yes, it's difficult. And we're going to be talking about some really sensitive subjects like this one, betrayal of trust. But the reality is forgiveness is for you. You have to understand that forgiveness is for you and your heart, not building up bitterness that can physically harm you, And if you don't forgive, you can physically start to feel it within your body. Yep. Sickness, disease, all of it. It's scientific.
Yep.
There's a difference between forgiveness and restoration. Forgiveness, I'm telling you, needs to happen quickly. But that restoration, like we've gone through this in the past, where you've had to earn my trust back, that took longer. That restoration process is longer. We're talking specifically about forgiveness.
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify because I don't want people to feel like we're undermining their emotions that are real and appropriate. But we are talking about two different things right now.
Yeah. And unforgiveness, and you guys have probably heard this before, unforgiveness is like taking a poison pill and expecting the other person to die. It's not going to kill them. It's killing you.
Yeah.
And like you just said, science shows that. And I love what the Bible says that it talks about that. A joyful heart brings, what's it say? A joyful, I just said, I love what the Bible says. Now I can't even think of it.
It brings healing.
Yeah. Is that, I'm sure there's more to the verse than that. But is that it? A joyful heart brings healing?
I thought so.
I don't know.
Why'd you bring it up?
Man, it was there and then it was gone. It happens. Okay. So a couple other ones. You may have gone through emotional hurt, repeated offenses, unresolved conflict, pride and ego. Maybe you have a spouse that is very prideful. Maybe you are a believer in Christ and they aren't. And so you're trying to make your home look like a Christ-centered home, but because of their pride, because their ego, because it's their way or the highway, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
And you're getting this bitterness built up in you. Fear of being vulnerable. You think that if you are vulnerable, you're forgiving someone that doesn't deserve it, right? Lack of genuine remorse. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't actually feel sorry, or maybe you don't want to forgive them.
Yeah.
But that goes back to your point, the health, the toll that it's truly taking on you.
Yeah.
That matters to actually look inwardly and see, what has this been doing to me? How has this been affecting my relationship with other people, my mind, my spirit, my health, my emotions? Are you walking in depression now, anxiety, worry, like all these things that come from it because you don't think they deserve to be forgiven. We don't deserve to be forgiven.
Right.
Right? Okay, let's go on to the next thing. Well, actually, before we jump through past forgiveness, here's some practical tips. Krissy already hit it. The first one, address issues as they rise. Fast.
Yeah.
Drop that F-bomb. Drop that F-bomb.
Forgive
I
fast.
forgive you. Forgive fast. I
Mm-hmm.
forgive you. Here's something that will strengthen your marriage every time. Pray together. Pray with your spouse. Krissy and I pray every night together, unless she falls asleep early or I fall asleep early. Doesn't have to be a long prayer. It's a quick prayer. We pray, thank you, God, for the day, what's happening tomorrow, what's going on right now, if there's anything going on with our kids, if there's any sickness, if we have an event coming up for the church, whatever it is, that's the prayer. Pray together. When you pray with one another, it's hard to stay mad at each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's hard to do that. Pray with your spouse.
Yeah.
The last one, when you're trying to forgive them, keep a gratitude journal. So like when I journal in the morning, I write out 3 things I'm grateful for. If you are struggling to forgive your spouse, you could write out every day 1 thing you are grateful for from them. And you could be like, they are, the worst person in the world. Are they providing?
Yeah.
Are they putting food on the table? Are they keeping the house clean? Are they raising the children? Like, what is it? I'm so grateful for my husband because he's a hard worker.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my wife because she is raising amazing kids, And so the more, again, there's life and death in the power of the tongue. If we speak life, we are going to see life in our marriage. If we speak death, we are going to see death in our marriage.
Yeah. Whatever you focus on, it's what you're going to see. Right? Yeah, they messed up. Yeah, something went wrong. Absolutely. But they aren't that thing, right? You have to focus on the things that they actually are. I heard this, I think she was a psychologist, and she actually talked about, it was specifically about husbands. So wives, this is for you. There are 2 kings inside of your husband, and the one that you speak to, you will see. There's I think she called it like the good king and the bad king. And it's like, I could see, like, you're not perfect. I can see the negative in your life. And if I speak to those things, that's who you're going to become. But if I speak to the things that I see that you are, maybe you're not totally those things quite yet, or maybe you haven't developed fully in those giftings, but I'm going to speak to those things, and that's what I'm going to see come forth. And that's like, as wives, we have a very big responsibility in this area. Like, we should be our husband's biggest cheerleaders, even in the midst of their failures.
Every time you say that, I'm like, you should be, and you should get a cheerleader outfit.
Oh, stop. Yeah.
This is the married life. Okay. Number 3 on 10 must-haves for deeper intimacy, understanding. And this can be hard because you're like, I don't understand her.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't understand herself.
That is accurate.
Right? 1 Peter 3:7 says, husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner, because she does not hit the gym like I do, with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. When he's talking about the weaker partner, and other translations says the weaker vessel, the way to understand this is it's talking about the difference between a vase and steel, right?
Yeah.
So like a steel car, you know, like that can take a pounding. Mm-hmm. A vase, it is valuable, just like a car, but it's fragile.
It's priceless.
Yes.
It's worth more.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I like how you're saying about the woman. You're like, worth more. Say it again, worth more.
I am.
She is worth more.
Right.
And so then what does he say? So that nothing will hinder your prayers. If we are not getting understanding, and if we are not considerate of our wives, and we don't understand that they are like vases and priceless, our prayers will actually be hindered.
Yikes.
We have to get understanding. Again, men, like, football season is upon us, and I love football. Somebody asked me today if I would join a fantasy football league, and I told them no. And here's why. Fantasy football takes up so much time. You have to like study different players. You have to put a team together. You have to watch every Sunday. I'm a pastor, first of all. Like, I don't have time on Sundays for that also. But I'm like, I'm not going to study a strange man more than I'm studying my wife. You know? Uh-huh. But we have so many men that are like, oh no, I'm going to do fantasy football, and I'm going to spend all this time on golf, or I'm going to spend all this time on X, Y, or Z, you know, like these hobbies, which hobbies aren't bad. I have hobbies, but I have to make sure that you're my number one hobby, and I have to get understanding of you.
Yeah.
For not just for you, not just to be a better husband, but for even my spiritual life, that my prayers are not hindered because I'm selfish and I'm focused on myself.
Yeah.
Proverbs 4:7 says, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it costs all you have. Get understanding.
That's so good. And I think, like, as you're talking about this fantasy football, which is such a great example, so many men out there will pour everything into stuff like that. And then we're just over here like, hey, like, take me on a date. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I don't ever want to always point the finger at men and say, you need to get better, because here's the reality.
Well, I can point at us men. You point at the women.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to point at the women. They ain't going to come back. They're like, this guy's mean.
No, but we have a responsibility, just like I talked about before. We can't always point the fingers at our spouse. We have to, okay, like you said, I want to understand my wife even though she doesn't understand herself. Like, women, we have a responsibility to try to understand ourselves. Like, our cycle. Oh, okay. Like, you would say all the time your mom would blame how your sister's attitude on her cycle, and you're trying to figure out over here, how long does a cycle last? Like 4 weeks out of the month? Like, we're trying to figure it out. Like, we can't blame stuff like that because of this, that, or the other thing, right? We need to take charge of ourselves. We need to know ourselves. Okay, yeah, this is the time of the month that I probably am a little bit more irritable. I need to take care of that. I need to make sure that I'm doing okay in my own self, in my own headspace. And I've struggled with it before about this whole mom guilt, getting time for myself and all that stuff. But like, I need to be responsible for me so that the things that I'm doing and feeling, like, it'll just pour out on you. And that's not fair either. Mm-hmm. And so even though we can't quite totally understand maybe one another, you can't totally understand me because of all of this stuff, like, there is a responsibility.
Yes.
Like, you do need to get understanding and be responsible for yourself as well.
Yes, that's so good. So here's some ideas for improvement in marriage, okay? 1, do you have habits? Like, if I want to understand Krissy, one of the ways that I need to understand her is by spending time with her. So I need to date her. Do you have the habit of dating, right? Do we have the habit of our devotional where we are reading the Bible, praying, and I'm asking you what the Lord's speaking to you as you read the Bible, vice versa, because that helps me understand you.
Yeah.
It helps me realize how you are interpreting the scriptures and how you're reading and how you're seeing the Holy Spirit speak to you on these certain topics. What books you're reading, what podcasts you're listening to. These habits that we kind of form in life as a husband, I need to study those things and see, even when it comes to down to our diet, right? Like as we're shifting and trying different things, it's like understanding, okay, my wife wants to try X, Y, and Z because she's feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
And I want to have understanding. I want to have empathy for you. And I'd be like, oh, you're fine. Just eat what I eat, like, because we're not the same person. So I can't put that on you. Second thing, this is like kind of like 2 and 3, when it comes to getting understanding, when you get in alignment with vision and goals, you will have understanding with your spouse.
That's so good.
Right now, as we're working on a book, The Blueprints of Marriage, it's all about getting your vision in line with your spouse. Because the Bible says where there is no vision, the people perish.
Yeah.
Where there is no vision in the marriage will perish. We have to get understanding. Why did God put us together? What gifts do you have that I don't have? And what gifts do I have that you don't have that complement each other, like a hand in a glove or even a hand in a hand? That's some of the things that we have to understand, that if you're rubbing me the wrong way and I'm getting mad about it, well, actually, I probably need that thing in my life.
Yeah.
Like even the other day, I was mad at Vivi about something, my 7-year-old. I was like, gosh, she doesn't think. Why doesn't she think? And Krissy said, because she's 7 and 7-year-olds don't think. I was like, that's a good point. But it's like, I need that. I need that understanding that you have. I need that in my life to give more grace to my daughter. I want to give it to all my kids.
I also thought, well, she's just like you.
I thought that too. I didn't want to say it though. Okay.
I was like, there she is.
There he is.
There he is.
Vivi looking just like Joe. Yeah. Anyways, I was going to go on with the kids, but people got their own kids to think about. Okay. Some more practical tips. Ready? Take time to learn your spouse's love language.
So this is so easy. I don't know why people don't do this. It's like the easiest thing. Take the test. Have your spouse take the test. There's your understanding. You don't have to figure it out.
Nope.
Because a lot of people are trying to love their spouses in the wrong way that they receive it. And it just doesn't work. Like, this is literally the easiest thing.
Yep. And just so you know, this is moving on to number 4 in our 10 must-haves for deeper intimacy is number 4, the 5 love languages. I should have made it like 5 is the 5 love language. Dang it, I should have thought about that better. Anyways, it's the 5 love language.
Yeah.
And so in case you don't know them, it's words of affirmation. That's mine. Affirm me, baby. Tell me I'm doing good. Acts of service.
Yep.
Receiving gifts, quality time, that's yours, and physical touch. And physical touch is not sexual touch.
You only named 4.
Did I?
Gifts.
No, I said receiving gifts.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You're not paying attention.
I'm not.
We got to go back. I want you to say back what I said. Just kidding. Anyways, okay. So what you usually do is if you have this love language, you usually give your love language.
Naturally.
So I can affirm Krissy. I affirm people that serve at the church. I affirm my kids. It's easy for me to do because I want affirmation. What might not be easy for me to do is spend quality time with people because that's not my love language.
Yeah.
But that's your love language, and that's why you will walk into the bathroom and be gone for 15 minutes because you made a friend in there. And you're talking to them, and you walk out.
Are we talking about at home or in public? Because I do it in both. I'm
yes.
like, these people won't leave me alone in the bathroom at home.
Yeah. And you walk out, and I'm like, oh, Krissy has a new best friend. You're like, oh, yeah, I invited him to church, and, her name is this, and this was going on.
We were just talking. I don't know. Washing our hands.
When I'm in the bathroom at the church, it's weird for me to talk to a dude I know.
Even washing your hands. I'm not talking to her through the stall door.
Oh.
What do you think I'm doing?
I don't know. You guys are washing hands for a while.
I mean, well, yeah, you wash them and then you talk, and it's like, oh, okay.
Listen, it's like the other day when we were at Costco, and I went to the bathroom, and there were 3 dudes all at the sink at the same time washing their hands, and they acted like surgeons. How many times they pumped soap in their hands, scrubbed, got under their nails, literally like up their arms, like they were
wearing masks too.
Yeah, exactly. They were washing their hands for so long. I could have started a conversation with them. Oh, hey guys, what do you do? Are you surgeons?
Well, you wasted
teach me. Instead, I was just frustrated. I had to go back to number 1, and number 2, like the communication and the frustration. I had unforgiveness. I had to drop the F-bomb on them.
Oh my gosh.
A different F-bomb. Oh, but Okay, so 1 John 4:7 says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God." Romans 12:10 says, "Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves." This is why it's so important to know the 5 love languages.
I think something about this love language thing that I am literally just having revelation about is we can get so frustrated that you're not me and I'm not you. Like, honestly, giving words of affirmation, it like makes me feel uncomfortable. And I've had this conversation with him multiple times, like him giving me words of affirmation, especially in front of other people, makes me so uncomfortable. And so we've had that conversation. But as I'm like realizing, and it's just like the differences in general, but like I feel like this in and of itself being different brings intimacy, right? Seeing things from different perspectives, like having to like get outside of your own comfort zone and all of that stuff. Like it actually makes us closer together if you allow it. Or you can just be super frustrated at your spouse for being different than you and wanting something different than yourself. And so you have to change your perspective. They are not you. Would you want to be married to yourself?
Heck no.
No, you would be so frustrated. Not because it's you, but anybody. And so we have to understand that these are blessings and these are good things, that our spouse is actually not us.
Yep.
Because I think I would get frustrated with myself.
Yep. Okay, so this is easy. You can Google the 5 love language, take the
So
test.
easy.
There is a book. There's more to it, all the jazz. But what you want to do is, this could be one of those habits like what we just talked about. You want to start creating a habit of doing your spouse's love language. If it's words of affirmation, you might have to set a reminder in your phone because you're not used to doing this, but affirming them daily.
Yeah.
That could be through text. That could be over the dinner table. It could be at night, whatever. If it's physical touch, give her a foot massage without any expectations, right?
Yes, please.
Right. Cuddling. Krissy loves cuddling. She loves hugging, deep hugs, long hugs. So it's like those physical things that don't lead to sex. They're just physical. Another one, quality time. And this is a conversation to have with your spouse. Like, if love language is your quality time, what way do you like quality time? Is it like us watching a movie together, going on a walk together, going to the beach together, going on a bike ride together, going to the gym together,
Playing a game.
Monopoly Go.
I love it.
I know, it's fun. And so those are different things that you need to do, but it's like, it's putting that now in the rhythm of your life. Mm-hmm. To constantly, because this is something that he talks about in the book, and it's so true, that all of us have love tanks. And so you ask, like, how's your love tank doing? Mm-hmm. Mine empty? Is it quarter full, half full? Is it all the way full? How's that love tank? And it's a great way to gauge how you are loving your spouse. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, be honest with each other.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling like you're full, just let them know. I feel quarter tank. Okay, I need to affirm you more, or more quality time, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And you can even ask, how can I fill your love tank more? A lot of times it pretty much goes back to this, right? The love language, like, okay, if acts of service is my love language, I need you to serve more, help pick up around the house more, help,
right.
Like initiate, not me having to ask you to do stuff, or you see me doing stuff and then you jump in. And that's not acts of service. That's like, oh crap, I forgot, Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was number 4, the 5 love languages. Hey, if you know what your love language is, do us a favor right now. Comment below what your love language is and your spouse. And if you don't know your spouse's, have them take the test.
Yeah.
But comment that below. I want to know. So mine's words of affirmation.
Quality time.
Boom. Got it. Okay. Number 5, respect.
RESPECT.
Continue.
No.
Okay. Ephesians 5:33 says, however, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. There's that word, respect. And now 1 Peter 2:17, show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. Show proper respect to everyone. Everyone is including my wife. Everyone's including the husband.
Yeah.
Everyone is everyone. This, again, kind of goes back to what we were alluding to earlier. When do we lose the manners in our marriage? Mm-hmm. How am I respecting you? What does respect look like to you?
I think communication, right? So when we talked about it before, actively listening to me is a part of it. Letting my voice be heard, valued, and even implemented. Not all of the time. I don't always have the right answer, but you value my opinions and you respect that I have something to actually offer in a situation.
Share that story of when we were at another pastor's house and it was like you were not.
Oh gosh.
Because I mean that shows like how you feel when you feel respected or disrespected.
Yeah. So it was a Christmas party last year, right?
Yep.
It was recent. And we knew, I think, the people who owned the house only. So the husband and the wife. And we walked in. It was beautiful. The food was great. Everybody was laughing. It was like super lighthearted. It was really fun. We were speaking to the pastors. And then you went outside with like maybe 5 guys. And then I was inside and there was multiple people in there. I was talking to the wife and she like introduced me very quickly. And then they like were having their own conversation as I stand there. And I was like trying to include myself. Mind you, I can make a friend in the bathroom of a restaurant. And I'm trying to, it's not like I'm awkward in front of people. And so I'm literally trying to like just chime into the conversation. No, they don't even look at me. Like I'm not even there. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll go outside with my husband. And so I went outside with you. You guys are having a totally different conversation. I wait a few minutes. I'm trying to catch up on the conversation, trying to input in the conversation. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Neither.
Nobody even made eye contact with me when I spoke. And I looked at my husband like he recognized me, like he had eye contact with me. And I think I did it like a couple times. It was just the worst. And so that's what it can be like within a marriage. When you're literally like trying to talk and communicate and have input and they don't even recognize it. They don't even make eye contact with you or even let you know that they even care or heard what you had to say.
And that feels so disrespectful.
I have never felt like that in my whole life, and I refuse to make anybody else feel like that ever.
Yeah.
That's how terrible it was.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to bring into our marriage. Am I actually hearing my wife, right? Like, am I actually Dr. Gottman talks about this, one of the, what's he calling the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse when it comes to marriage. But one of the things is, I can't remember the exact words, but if you are trying to engage in conversation,
stonewalling?
Not that one, there was another one.
Oh.
But if you, because stonewalling is just like you're talking to me and I'm just shut off.
Oh, gotcha.
But if you're like that, having a conversation with me, and I, instead of like leaning in, even if I don't care, if you're like, oh, look at all the ducks, I'm like, oh, wow, cool ducks. Let's get some bread or whatever, I don't know. Like, I don't care about ducks, but if I don't engage and I just purposely turn away from that, that is one of the signs that leads to divorce. It's disrespect.
Yeah.
It's me saying, I don't care what your input is. I don't care what you're talking about right now. The football game's more important, or what I'm doing is more important, work's more important, whatever it is. Instead of me saying like, no, this is my spouse, let me engage.
Yeah.
What matters to you should matter to me. And what matters to me should matter to you.
It should. Yeah, you're married.
Yep. So here's some practical tips when it comes to respect. 1, sing the song like Krissy just said. 2, practical tips, speak kindly to and about each other, even in disagreements.
Oh, that's really good.
Especially about each other.
If you are talking to your friends or family members about your spouse in a negative way, stop it now. Like, stop. Period. Don't do it again. Like, you need to get to a place where your issues are your issues, because here's what'll happen. 1, your family's going to be on your side. Your friends are going to be on your side 100% of the time. 100% of the time. And when you get over that specific issue with your spouse, guess who's still mad? And guess who's going to remember every incident that you ever brought up about your spouse? Your family and your friends.
Yep.
And so there's going to be a point in time you're like, you've been dealing with this for way too long. You should just divorce them. You should do this. You should do that. And they never had the reconciliation and the forgiveness that you did.
Yep.
So 100% stop now. Don't ever do it again.
Yep. Birds of a feather flock together. If you want to soar like the eagles, you can't walk with the turkeys. You got to separate your relationships.
Yeah.
That's
and
why
if your friends are talking about their spouses, I'm telling you,
it'll rub off.
it will.
get a counselor, get a therapist, talk to your pastor. Don't talk to your parents. Don't talk to your friends.
Absolutely not.
About that kind of stuff when you are bad mouthing. It's one thing if you're asking for advice, but if there's constantly the bad mouthing.
I even think that's a slippery slope.
Asking for advice.
Like, you could be super passive aggressive about it. Just be careful on that one. Like, you have to be super careful.
Yeah.
It would even be like more of a mentor. You need to ask your mentor something like that, not a friend, because that's just slippery.
Yeah. Another one, value your spouse's opinion and show appreciation for their contribution. That's important. That's the way we respect each other. When, like, I mean, again, wouldn't it be disrespectful if you're making dinner, doing the dishes, so much of the house, and I never thank you for it. I never notice it. You know, like even the other day, I don't remember if I was working. I don't know if it was a day off and I was gone with the kids. Maybe that was, and I got home and the house was just clean. And I think I did. I think I took them for a bike ride.
Yeah.
And when I got home, I was like, oh, thank you for cleaning the house. It looks great. You know, it's just those little things to notice. For about 5 minutes. Well, we have kids. You get it.
You brought the kids home.
Exactly. She's like, why
the
did you
kids
do
back
that?
with you.
It was so clean. And then establish and maintain boundaries that honor each other's personal space and time. I try to do this with you. It's not successful. But with our kids, like I want to show you respect that when you are in the bathroom, getting ready, trying to shower, like even today,
I heard him.
Yep. And pulled him out of there. Locked the door, you know, like the bedroom door that leads into our bathroom, because it's like I want you to have your privacy. I want you to have your space, you know, because I respect that, and they don't. They're little monsters.
You do a great job at that.
Hey, thanks.
I mean, they slip through sometimes. They're slippery little suckers.
They are. But again, so much of this has to come down to, and we've done this before, so there's a PDF below called the 3 T's of communication: touch, tone, and timing. It'll help you learn how to have respect in conversations, whether it's hard conversations, easy conversations, lighthearted conversations, whatever. Teaches you when and how to have the conversation. It's free. It's a PDF right below. You can click and get that.
It's really about being self-aware.
It really is. Okay. Number 6. Okay. We have 4 more to go. Number 6 is important. Appreciate each other.
Yeah.
Appreciate each other. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, therefore encourage one another and build each other up. Build each other up. Build each other up. Not tear each other down. It's easy because it's easy to see each other's faults.
Absolutely.
It's so easy. And it's hard for me to see my faults. I look in the mirror like, oh, wow, you know, like, but we got to be like Michael Jackson, right? The theologian Michael Jackson. He said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
Wow.
That's where we got to start, with the man in the mirror. Wow. Encourage one another and build each other up. Okay. Philippians 1:3 says, I thank my God every time I remember you, right? Appreciations. This goes down to like, even we have these love notes that we just have, and we just put them on each other's coffee mugs. Well, right now we're fasting coffee, but we just put them out for each other. Just what we appreciate. Like the other day I put on one, I love going to bed with you, because I do. I love sleeping with you. And so it's those little things of appreciation that go so far in a relationship. I remember Craig Rochelle, another pastor, he talked about this. He said, when you think you've appreciated somebody, I think he said like, do it 10 times more. It's like, because you actually haven't. Because a lot of times we think the good about somebody, but we don't voice it.
Yeah.
And so if I think I'm appreciating you enough, I'm actually just not actually doing enough. So I need to double it. I need to 10 times it.
Yeah.
So you feel appreciated to the point of like, wow, he really sees me.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say on that?
No, I think that's good. I think appreciation is, because here's the thing, like there's always going to be frustrations and hard times. You're going to have an argument and stuff like that, but it's like an investment and depositing into the bank.
Yeah.
So it's like you're hearing all of these things. I'm sure there's like a statistic or whatever there might be, I don't know, of how much you need to deposit, because when you have an argument or when you need to have a hard conversation or a criticism or a correction or whatever it is, now you're withdrawing.
Right.
And so when you withdraw, you have so much invested into it.
Yep.
Right? My appreciation for you, this one criticism, that's not going to hurt anything, because I know how much you love me. This one thing isn't going to break the bank.
Yep.
Right? Because you've invested so much, and that's why it's so important.
That's so good. So here are 3 proven kind of statistics, like you were saying, why appreciation matters so much. Okay. It improves the relationship satisfaction.
Ooh.
Yes. So when we emphasize regular expressions of gratitude, it increases the relationship satisfaction in both partners. Like, it's so important to do.
So number 2 is enhancing psychological well-being. It actually helps reduce depression and anxiety between you guys. Like, it actually makes a huge difference. And just like I said, that is something that we need in this world today.
Yep.
If gratitude could even 1% make somebody's depression and anxiety better, why wouldn't you do it?
So good.
You know?
So good. The third thing, it builds trust and closeness with each other. Like when we actually have that, when we appreciate one another, it's going to build trust and closeness with our spouse.
And, you know, here's the thing, because I know that there's going to be some people out there that maybe you're just not good with words. And you can start out with the sentence, I appreciate you so much, but you got to start thinking and go deeper. Okay. Start there. If that's a necessity for you, that's fine. But start getting very specific, because just like he said, like we have these sticky notes that say, I love. It's just a prompt. I love. You fill in the blank. You stick it on a mirror, stick it on a coffee cup like we do, whatever it is. You have to get very specific. You can write, I love you, maybe once or twice. But after that, you have to start getting very specific. And so use the I appreciate you, but start getting specific with your spouse, because they want to know the things that you actually do appreciate about them.
Yes. So good. Okay. So here's practical tips. Just like what you said, say thank you. Actually be like what you said, knowing what am I thankful for, saying it, vocalizing it, write notes. Just like we just talked about, send a text message, let them know. Don't send them an email. Nobody's going to read that.
Oh, gosh.
Celebrate each other's achievements and milestones. So, I mean, this is so important. If you guys are going to appreciate your spouse right now, today, I want you to hit that follow button. If you're going to send them a text, if you're going to send them, write them a note, if you're just going to tell them over dinner what you appreciate about them, hit that follow button.
If their love language is gifts, grab them some flowers and then tell them.
Right. That's a good one.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, that's next level. Hit that subscribe button. Bonus. Okay, here we go. Number 7. We already alluded to this, so we're just going to be quick. It's the us versus the problem, not me versus you. Because a lot of times that's what we get to this spot of thinking, okay, this is me versus Krissy. No. 2 become 1 in marriage.
Yeah.
When 2 become 1, that means that I'm not trying to divide myself. I'm not trying to cut myself down the middle and this side win and this side lose. But that's what we do with our spouse.
Yeah.
You're losing, I'm winning. No. It's us versus the problem. So what's the problem and how do we fix this together? Again, it could be communication. It could be financial. It could be sexual. It could be with the kids, whatever it is. It could be work, whatever it is, you know, anger issues. It's like, okay, we need to work on this together. I remember there was somebody back in Indiana when we lived there, and the husband had a drinking problem. And just like what you were saying earlier, family and friends were telling the wife to leave. And this wife said, as much as he has a drinking problem, our marriage issues might be 99% his fault, but I know there's 1% that I could work on. And she worked on her 1%, and he worked on the 99%, and they are still married to this day with a thriving marriage.
Yeah.
Love Jesus because she did not quit.
Yep.
She did not throw in the towel. She did not just say, yep, he's the problem. She said, no, 2 have become 1, and I'm going to work on this.
I think you're talking about all these different areas where, you know, there could be a problem within your marriage, but the reality is it's all spiritual.
Yes.
So if you literally heard him talk and you just thought there was just something inside of you that made you grit your teeth, I guarantee you there's something more spiritual deep inside of you. If you feel like it's a me versus you type of thing, you need to look at your past and say, okay, where was I rejected? Where do I feel like I need to, be accepted all the time, be right all the time? I promise you there is a deeper issue within yourself. Have you, were you not accepted by your parents? Was there like an orphan kind of spirit going on here? I guarantee you there's something is deeper. And so you need to be careful in this area too, because if you cannot become one with your spouse, because that is what God has called us to do, there is something spiritual in that thing that is trying to divide you, that you're so mad about every little thing that's you versus me. It's deeper. And I would talk to your pastor, a small group leader, a mentor, or somebody. It's deeper than that.
So good. What is that book that we have out in the living room?
We have a lot of books in the living room.
I know. The one about soul care. Is that soul care?
Yeah.
That's the book. That's a great book because it really helps you take time to look inward.
Evaluate yourself.
Yes. Great book. Great reference.
All of it.
Yeah. Okay. So here's some practical tips. I feel like that was a great practical tip, what you just shared. That book's a great practical tip. But again, approach conflict as a team. You're a team. Okay. It's a team Angelo. It's not team Krissy versus team Joe, right? We
I'd
are on
win.
what? Would you say you'd win? You would in sports. She is the more athletic one. Okay. Avoid placing blame and instead look for constructive solutions. Again, I've gotten Krissy and I in plenty of predicaments. Pickles. And she does not point the finger at me. Literally, she's like, all right, we're going to figure this out. Even though I'm the one that did it. But that shows teamwork, you know? Like
Yeah.
that is. And especially like, even when I watch shows, like even watching like The Receiver on Netflix, when you see that the receivers are working out individually and separately, then the offensive linemen, the tight ends, then the quarterback, then fill in the blank of the whole team, they work separately to come together to form a team to win a championship. And so it's like, I need to work on myself individually. You need to work on yourself individually. But when we are able to come together and realize how much stronger we are together as a team, that's like, yeah, we'll be able to overcome these problems.
Absolutely.
And it's not my spouse is the problem. Okay. Again, pray together for wisdom and unity in addressing challenges. Like we can't over or underestimate that.
Yeah.
How important it is to pray when you are facing issues.
Pray first.
Pray first. That's the series we're in right now at church. Pray first. Look at that. Just came out. Okay. We got 2 more to go.
3 more.
3 more to go. Thank you. In marriage, honesty comes first. Ephesians 4:25 says, therefore, each of you must put off a falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. And then Proverbs 12:22 says, the Lord detests lying lips. He delights in people who are trustworthy. Honesty comes first. That kind of ties in to what we were just talking about, where I've put us in predicaments. But what would you say to that when it comes to honesty?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that we can deal with as a married couple and we can get through. But if you're not honest, then 1, we can't get better. We can't work through it. And 2, for the future, it just puts a question to everything you do. It breaks more than just that thing that you're lying about. It's not like if you lied about where you were, I don't know. It's more than that. Lying touches every aspect of your life, and it breaks so much more than you think it does. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like, well, now what is he lying about? If he can lie so easy about that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like, whatever the situation is, whatever predicament you got yourself in, I promise you, if you lie about it,
It erodes trust.
it really does. And it's probably, I'm not saying it can't be a big issue, but it can be worked through if there is honesty.
Yeah.
It really can. I've known people on the brink of divorce. I've known people who've gotten divorced and then got remarried and they have like a thriving marriage, right? The issue can always be fixed.
Yeah.
But dishonesty is a whole nother thing.
Yep. How would you say for somebody to, like, what if there is a wife right now, a husband right now, and they know that their spouse is dishonest with them? What is the next steps for them?
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I would just confront it. I mean, that's all you can do.
So I guess this is what I was thinking, because there was somebody who used to go to our church and he would lie all the time. They weren't even married. They were, I think, engaged. They still had a kid. Lie all the time to her. And I mean, just about where he was, who he was with, things on his phone. Now, obviously they were engaged. They weren't married. So she could easily broke up with him.
Right.
But what if that's a husband and wife? What advice do we need to give them to see breakthrough from what he has? Because again, I think it answered the question that I just asked you. I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. There's something spiritual there.
Absolutely. If somebody is a compulsive liar, that's spiritual.
Yeah.
And practically too, it's a renewing of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like for some reason, they feel like inside of themselves, they're not good enough. What they do isn't good enough, or whatever the case may be. That side for them is more spiritual. And until they come to repentance, I don't know if you can't do anything about them lying. But for yourself, it goes back to one of the practicals of the last thing of like praying about everything, because God will give you discernment, right? If you're still trying to unite this marriage, you know, you need discernment. You need to keep yourself, I don't want to say safe if that's not But if you need to make sure the money's there and your kids are safe and all of this kind of stuff, it depends on like how deep these lies go.
Right.
But you need discernment. And you also need to get to a place in your own heart that it's not you. Like if they're compulsively lying, like you need to settle in your own heart that it's not you, right? And then that's between you and Jesus. Like you got to make sure that you're good with the Lord because you can't hurt me. You know what I'm saying? Because like I just know. I know myself. I'm confident in myself and my decisions and who I am.
But that's why it's so important that honesty comes first. Because of how much of a hole it digs you in.
It does.
It is debt. It is digging you into debt.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so here we go. On to the next one. Number 9, when we're talking about the 10 must-haves for deeper intimacy, make time for each other. You cannot be intimate if you do not spend time with each other.
That is very true.
And even when I'm talking intimacy, I'm not even talking sex.
Right, no.
I'm just talking about, well, because I saw that look. I saw that, I saw that wink, that twinkle in your eye. I was like, oh, she knows where this is going. Date nights matter, right? So we've mentioned this so many times, and all the ladies out there know it, that most of the time, men are like microwaves and women are like crock pots. So a man might think, I'm ready anytime, all the time for sex, where a woman isn't. She needs a date, right? She needs a back rub. She wants to look fancy. She wants to have an intimate conversation over dinner. She wants to have questions like we have below PDF to ask on the date night to go deeper with each other.
Yeah.
Where a guy can be shallow. Not saying all guys are shallow,
No.
you know, but we could be thinking about one thing.
You don't need those things.
Exactly.
You don't need all that other stuff.
And that's where, again, we can forsake date nights for other important things. And we forget that the date night is what got us to marriage in the first place.
Yeah.
Like we cannot forsake the date.
Yeah.
It is so important. Anything you want to say to that?
No, I mean, make time for one another. And I know people have like a bunch of different types of like schedules. Like you just got to get creative.
Yep.
You have to make it happen because if you're not together, they're with somebody else like for that period of time. Like you got to be careful. You have to like have boundaries, simplify. I feel like we've gotten to a place in this world where there is so much going on. If you do not focus and you are not intentional with the things that actually matter, you're going to end up like everybody else. Right? Do all the things that everybody else does. You're going to get all the same results as they do. And that's not a good thing. We're talking about 50%, probably even more divorce rate. That's normal in this world today. And we don't want to live that normal life. And so you got to be super intentional, creative sometimes, but make time for one another.
Yep.
It's so important.
Yep. I was going to say something to that and I forgot what it was. I heard someone the other day on a podcast and they were talking about that somebody called them weird and he said, good, I don't want to be normal.
I don't.
I want to be weird.
I was literally teaching Vivi that the other day because she's kind of weird. She does gross things. And I said, well, you know, we don't want to be normal.
Yep.
So
We
just
don't.
tell them thank you. If somebody calls you weird, say thanks.
Thanks. Yep. We want to be different. I want my marriage to look different than other people's. I want my marriage to stand out so much that other people want this, the abnormal.
Yeah.
Right? But the abnormal takes work.
A lot.
It takes so much work, especially when you're married to me. But it's like when you look at somebody who is healthy, you know, it's like they put in the work. When you look at a high level CEO, they put in the work.
Well, I was just going to say, as you're talking, the whole health thing, the whole CEO thing, think of how much stuff they say no to.
Yes. I just said yes when you said that they said no, but I understand.
But think about it. All of the desserts. I mean, I don't know about you, but there's always a holiday. There's always a get together. There's always a birthday. There's always something to celebrate.
Yes.
There's always something.
There's always a reason to say yes.
There's
to
always
that dessert.
But that, I mean, that's just the comparison right now. If you want to live a healthy lifestyle, how many times do you have to say no to crap?
Yep.
If you want to be the CEO, if you want to be the top 1% in your niche, how many things do you have to say no to? If you want a thriving marriage, I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of things that you're going to have to say no to, right?
Yep.
You're just going to have to. And the easier way, I'm just going to leave it at that.
But that's good. You have to say no to some things to say yes to your spouse, to date them and spend time with them.
Absolutely.
Make time for them.
To have an extraordinary marriage. Absolutely.
And we have a whole YouTube podcast on this that is all about ways to date your spouse. If you don't have a babysitter, if you have a zero budget, we have a whole video. You can go back and watch it. I'll link it in the bottom so you guys can see it. So, okay, we're going to jump to the last one and then a bonus. Okay. So number 10, the 10 must-haves to deeper intimacy. You got to laugh together.
Oh gosh, yes. I was so terrible at this at the beginning of our relationship. I don't know how, probably into our marriage too, but definitely when we were dating. I just thought it needed to be this very serious thing, and which I had some things that you needed to get together. Like you were always joking around. I never knew when you were serious about something. It's still an issue a little bit today.
A little bit.
But man, our life would be so boring if there were two of me.
Look, here's the scripture I was talking about earlier. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones.
Oh, nice.
When we were talking about,
I got you.
Okay, there it is, everybody. I knew it. It's right there. Okay. But we need to laugh together like that. That's funny. You know, watching a show together, playing cards together,
inside jokes are the best.
You know, so laughing matters. Don't take life so seriously because life isn't that long.
It really isn't.
I want to enjoy it. I want to laugh. I want to have good times, especially with you.
Right. Let's do it.
Let's laugh together. Okay, so here's some practical tips. Watch comedies or share funny stories or jokes. We love watching The Office together, so we watch The Office. Reminisce on stories, you know. I try to tell dad jokes to the kids and stuff. So those are always funny. And now I have this laugh that I do.
Don't do it, please. Do not
that
do it.
I just do for the family. It's a family laugh.
Laugh.
It's a goofy laugh. And for some reason, Gwen started imitating the laugh.
And it sounds nothing like it.
And it's so funny. And then Ella started imitating it. And so it's just like something we laugh about now. Like
hilarious.
when they start doing it, we just die laughing because they're trying to imitate my fake laugh. But laughing matters in relationships, in marriage.
That's so good.
Here's the bonus. All right. The bonus tip for must-haves to deeper intimacy. Drum roll, please. That was a horrible drum roll.
Sorry.
It's sex. Gosh. Sex. Like if you want to have deeper intimacy, you have to have a healthy sex life. Like that's just true. Because when you have a healthy sex life, you're going to be able to connect more. You're going to feel more open, that I can be vulnerable. I can be transparent. This person has seen me naked, right? Now they just want to see my mind naked, like, right? Like reveal it all, share it all. They want to see my soul. They want to bear it all. And so it's so important when we know that sex, and I was sharing this with somebody the other day at church, it's more than physical.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've shared it before. It's so much more than physical. It's spiritual. And so when you know that, because some people, I'm telling you what, some of you heard these 10 must-haves to deeper intimacy, and you thought
you were waiting for it.
Yep. No. What I was going to say is that, you were waiting for the sex one. Is that you could say, well, when she, then I'll. When he starts doing these things, then I'll put out. Yeah. But it's not putting out, right? It's giving up. Like our life, we're called to give up. We're called to be, our life, if you're a Christian, it's to be a sacrifice. Yeah. And that even means times when it's like, hey, I'm not in the mood for sex, but he is or she is, I'm going to sacrifice to please my spouse. Yeah. And then because of that, I'm telling you what, there's going to be a stronger connection between the two of you. As much as that person might be for the physical, it's going to become something that is spiritual for your side.
Yeah, that's so good.
What do you want to say to that? So I'm going to run through these 6 points real quick as
Nailed it. I was waiting for you. Come on.
As we wrap this up. But so it's going to enhance emotional connections. That's a given when you are getting intimate with each other. It's going to increase your trust and your safety. You feel safe with that person in bed. It's going to improve your communication. We just talked about that. That was number 1 on here. So if you're like, oh, we need better communication, start in the bedroom. That was 3. Number 4, it's going to create a greater physical comfort. I've never done this, but I've read a book before where he talks about that they would just sleep naked with each other. And I was like, maybe when we don't have kids in the house, because right now it's like they come in our bedroom all throughout the night from bad dreams and stuff. And it's like, now you're really going to have a bad dream. But it's like, I just imagine like that greater physical comfort when you can like sleep naked with your spouse, you know? Okay. More frequent and spontaneous intimacy. That's going to happen. It's like, again, anyways. You're adults. You understand what I'm saying.
You'll figure it out.
Enhanced overall relationship satisfaction. It's going to increase your desire and attraction. It's better conflict with resolution, higher levels of commitment, personal growth, and exploration. You want to explore that body.
It's so bad. You can't help it.
And we talked about this before, so I'm going to link to the video. It's actually going to be right here where we've talked about before, like what's allowed in the marriage bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're trying to explore things sexually, what can I do? What can't I do
Right.
as a Christian married couple? So that video is going to be right here.